Hi everybody, and thanks for joining us on another TiltTrek. The Kineticist reached out to a bunch of content creators and asked us to go ahead and mention our top 5 pinball machines of all times. But we're a location place. We love talking to the people who make pinball possible, so we decided to do it our way. We're going to do our top 5, but one of the greatest places to find it is on location. And in this case here, we're in Decatur, Illinois, at Tilt Amusements. Let's go play 4 of our top 5. And I'll tell you why it's only 4 when we get there. Troy, Glenn Hoffman, good to see you as always. Thank you for joining us on our TiltTrek adventure.
Always good to see you, Glenn.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Well, you happen to have, we got one of our games at Expo. But when we were thinking, going, where in the world do I play my top 5 games, I immediately went, let's call Troy. Let's see if we can go out to Tilt Amusements.
I usually have a couple of them.
You've got a few in this place. And we're going to start off with our number 5 machine, and that is the Beatles. Now, I love the Beatles. This is a game I keep getting addicted to. Every time I see it, I have to play at least a few quarters in there or $1 these days. You know, whatever it takes to play. And part of the reason why I like the game is I liked Sea Witch. I just think this is a better Sea Witch. I've always been a big outside loop guy, and this is definitely an outside loop.
Oh, yeah.
It comes with modern features. I love the fact that after I'm done finishing a mode, I can go ahead and go for the super jackpot behind the fab targets. To me, it's just that subtle little something new on something old. Yep. And this is a great game. What do you think of the Beatles?
Well, me being not the greatest player, I love the simplicity of it.
Okay.
You know, not all the ramps and stuff. There's not as much to shoot for as others, but it's just, it keeps bringing you back in. It really does.
It really does. I agree.
And this one here actually fell off of a truck.
Really?
Yes. A quick little story on it.
Okay, good. Literally. Okay.
I shipped this to a customer, and it was dropped off of the truck. And I had one more Beatles, and so I sent that to the customer to make him happy.
Right.
And I sent this back to Stern, which was completely rebuilt, new cabinet, new playfield. So it's 100% original. And I decided I don't ever want to tell anyone, well,
correct.
I don't want to sell it and have to say this was dropped off of a truck. And I started playing it, and I was like, it ain't going anywhere anyway, so it really doesn't matter. So, and what's even better is I have the original playfield hanging on the wall from this game when it was damaged. So this is never going anywhere.
Well, that's exciting. Well, let's go ahead. We're going to play all 4 of our top 5 games. And while we're doing that, I want to go ahead and get to know you a little bit better.
All right? Sounds good, but you got to let me win one of the 4.
We'll find out. All right, Troy. So we're going to start off playing Beatles. So everybody always wants to know everybody's origin story. So how in the world did you get into pinball? Where did it all start?
Well, I have a good friend here in Decatur that had some video games, and I thought it was pretty cool. So he talked me into going to an auction with him, and I went with $500 and came home with 5 games.
That's awesome. Now, what year was that?
Around 95, 96. So a little bit ago.
A little bit ago. All right, Troy, we're at number 4. And number 4 on our countdown of our top 5 is Iron Maiden. But before we even start, one of the amazing things about being out here at Tilt Amusements is in your collection, you have a tendency of having premiums and pros sitting right next to each other. That's really, really cool. And when the Kineticist asked us to rate our top 5, I didn't think about having to go, do I like the premium or the pro better? And in this case here, I like all the bells and whistles of the premium, even though I've probably played more of the pro. So what are your thoughts of Iron Maiden?
Since I'm not into the group, it's not my top 5.
Okay.
I I like the gameplay of the Pro better. I like the cabinet artwork of the Premium better.
Okay. We've had pinball machines in our house since late 80s. And so we've always had one, but we were always Bally Williams people. So we ignored Stern for a very, 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 very long time. And then I went over to our buddy Dean's house, and he had an Iron Maiden. And I knew nothing about this game. But I played the game, and I was like, what is this? I mean, it flowed so well, and I did not, at that point in time, I did not know who Keith Elwin was.
No one did, really. I mean, everybody knew him as the #1 player in the world, but designing his own machine?
There's something to be said for the flow of this game, where things are located, how you're using the upper flipper. It becomes that number 4 on my list, which is it brought us into the modern pinball era, and it all pivoted officially off of the Pro.
Off the Pro.
But let's go ahead and play a game. So far you're up 1, and let's go ahead and play a game of Iron Maiden. You have honors as our current leader. All right, Troy. So here we go. So the concept behind this is we're going to keep getting to know you.
Damn, I should have turned off ball save. Yeah!
Yeah. So the idea, that was the worst ball I've ever had in Iron Maiden. Okay, but the idea is we're wanting to keep getting to know Troy of Tilt Amusements. And so we started off so far about how you kind of got into pinball, but now I'm fascinated by how does a guy who was doing all this stuff with arcade games and so on, how does it turn into where you run Tilt Amusements? Because Tilt Amusements is across the country, right? I mean,
yes.
I've seen Tilt Amusements in North Carolina, we're here in Illinois. So tell me, how did you end up as the main man of Tilt Amusements?
Well, I was doing all kinds of my video game stuff, and I started buying some pins here and there. And back in 2010 or so, I did a deal with Trent and bought a Avatar from him.
Okay.
I had traded him a Shrek, and I met him at Pinball Expo. It was our first deal together, and that started a relationship with Trent.
Over Shrek.
Shrek and Avatar.
I like Avatar.
And I still have that Avatar to this day.
Avatar makes sense. I've never been a fan of Shrek, so I'm amazed
I had kids.
This giant setup all pivoted off of
Shrek.
Yeah. All right, so
actually, I brought the Avatar home, and my kids were like, "Cool, Dad. Where's Shrek?" So then I had to go buy another Shrek, and I have that now. But so I was, friends with Trent. We had done many deals. I'd bought quite a few games from him, and then a couple years ago, I bought a new building.
Okay.
I had been renting for 14, 15 years, and decided finally to take the plunge, risk the livelihood, and buy a building.
Okay.
So
is that the building we're standing in now?
That's part of it.
Okay.
So I had the building. I made a neat little game room. I was more into pins then, and had done some very large deals of high-end pins and stuff. I've had most of the rare games like Going Nuts, King Kong, Kroll, stuff like that. So I was getting into the pins pretty hardcore, and I called Trent and said, I kind of want to see if I can apply for a distributor.
Okay.
But I don't want to burn any bridges, because I don't want you mad at me if they say no and I can't buy any pins from you anymore.
Okay.
And he said he didn't like that idea too much. as a distributor, you never want competition. I mean, you shouldn't be afraid of competition, but the lease is always easier on you.
Sure.
So he goes, let me talk to you in a couple days. And we talked a couple days later, and he's like, I got some ideas. I've got to go up to Stern. Why don't you meet me in Chicago and let's talk some?
Okay.
So I went up there, and he goes, you've got a network from all your history, years in the game. I'm running routes and enjoying my tournaments. Why don't you start doing all the sales for Tilt?
Okay.
He goes, then you don't have to be your own distributor because we're already existing. So there's an approval process for all that. I had to meet several of the important people at Stern and do video interviews and Zoom meetings and stuff like that. And so they had to okay it.
Really? Okay.
And everything went peachy. And, well, here we are.
Here we are. Okay.
Except now Tilt is even bigger. You just want that score in the background.
I don't mind the score in the background. So Troy, while we're not playing a tournament, that score is high enough that I don't need to play the next ball.
No.
All right.
No.
So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into the other room as we go to play what is our number 3 game. And our number 3 game was our number 2 game. It was in our number 3 game. It was our number 2 game. I can truly say that this number 3 is easily number 2. It's been wavering all over the place, back and forth. But on the day of filming,
it's number 3.
It's number 3. So
all right.
Let's head on over to the other room, and we're going to use your clue, which is we're going to play a classic.
But a remake.
Kinda. Exactly. All right, let's do it. All right, Troy, we made it to number 3. All right. In number 3, we are going old school
And new school.
and new school. And that's because we're playing Medieval Madness, one of the greatest games ever produced, in my opinion, by Williams. But you're saying it's new school because this is
Chicago Gaming Remake.
This is a Chicago Gaming Remake. Have you had a chance to play both?
Yes.
Which one? Do you have a preference?
I like the reliability of the Chicago Gaming. I mean, they've built a nice product.
Yeah.
So for me, with maintaining this many machines, that matters.
You know, it's funny. We are old school, and it's very interesting because people will look at me and go, oh, you got to stay classic. And I'm like going, I don't know. I really enjoy the Chicago Gaming version of this, so I think it's a solid game. When this thing blows up, it is as exciting as it comes. It has got these great, funny call-outs that, I don't know, you just don't seem to hear them anymore with that level of just abandonment to just going, we're just being silly and having a great time. And it seems like that's what they were doing at that point in time while making this game. So let's go ahead and play number 3, and we'll see how we're doing. So far, we are
1-1.
Would you like to start?
You get the honors.
All right. I did
You won the last game.
Okay. So when we last left off, we were running Tilt Amusements. So as we are running Tilt Amusements, when I get out to this building, a lot of things have happened in the last year. So why don't you take us through some of the highlights of the last year for Tilt Amusements? Because I've seen a lot of games in the back room that were from shows. I can see the new building or the new building addition. So talk me through it. What has 22-23 looked like for Tilt?
Well, as we know, COVID changed a lot of things.
Yep.
For pin sales, it was wonderful. Everybody wanted one then. So sales increased, which means more income. And as you know, you've been around since before I had the edition,
Right.
that I like doing my open houses. And I had an
open houses are fantastic here. I mean, anybody who's going to put this many games on free play and just invite people to come down and play and get a chance to play a pro versus a premium. I mean, it's an amazing place to be.
So I was doing the open houses, and one of the bigger ones at the time, we had 80 people in this couple thousand square foot room. So it actually was kind of crowded, and I like giving back and stuff. And I told the wife, you know, I'm growing, I can afford a little more right now. Why don't we add on? And main thing was I didn't have bathrooms.
I was going to say, whose idea was it to add a bathroom? Because I know that made a big difference in my household.
So I decided that if I'm going to add a bathroom, I might as well add a little more. And that became a very big room.
I was going to say, how much is a little more in the world of...
A couple thousand square feet.
That's what
and I have a wife that is very supportive of my insanity.
So we're blowing up the castle. And again...
One of the cool toys.
It's just the cool toy of pinball. I know people have made some really neat mechs, but it is hard to argue that watching that castle blow on up isn't something that you just want to see again and again. And the gate coming on down, the going up to rescue the princess and seeing which princess you get, it is...
And dragons. What can you not like about dragons?
What can you not like about dragons? So you have one of the coolest logos in pinball. And tell me, I know the artist, but go ahead. Tell us a little bit about how this happened.
So I wanted to do something unique, promotional and stuff. And Brian Allen has been doing a lot of artwork for the older Bally Williams games. So I reached out to him about doing some kind of artwork for me. And he's like, what do you want? I said, you're the artist. You tell me what I want. And he goes, I like that and I don't. He goes, I like direction and stuff. And I was like, just run with it. Okay. So he came up with this idea.
So the dragon wasn't influenced by your dragon?
No.
All right.
I only put say into one thing. So as you see, he's got buildings in here.
Okay. Looks a little almost Rampage, but he didn't do Rampage.
Well, if you happen to look in the buildings, there are names hidden in it. That's my daughter, Natalie. There's my son, Zach, my daughter, Kylie, my daughter, Paige. And then down here on this one is my grandson, Severus, and my granddaughter, Grace.
So we're about to head over to game number 1. And the reason why we're jumping to number 1 is because number 2, I filmed out at Expo. And number 2, people will get a chance to see, and we'll get a chance to play that game with the man from over at the company that made number 2. Yeah. But we'll see everybody here in a few minutes again when we travel back to the other room to go play
game number 1.
Number 1. All right, let's do it. Please visit our sponsor, Comet Pinball. Comet Pinball has what you need to make your dim machines look better than new. They have the largest selection of bulbs from the exotic to the mundane, and even their exclusive matrix lighting system, which makes it easy to boldly add lighting where no lighting has gone before. Visit cometpinball.com. In our list of our top 5 pinball machines of all times, we are saying we have our best theme. And our best theme happens to be Rick and Morty. But Rick and Morty can't be Rick and Morty without the people who made it. And that's Spooky Pinball. And today, we are able to hang out with Bug. So, Bug. Now, everybody from Spooky gets a great name and stuff like that.
Yeah, somehow everybody ends up with a nickname of some sort, whether it's gifted by Charlie or somehow they got it through the industry. Everybody ends up with a nickname.
So just before we start, we're going to play a game together. But before we play a game together, how'd you get Bug?
So, Bug, there is no amazing special story. My parents, when they had me, they had my nickname before my real name. I think like after a day and a half, they finally gave me the name Corwin, which is my real name. But for that day and a half, they kept calling me Bug over and over because that's just this little bug. So that kind of stuck forever. That's what they've always referred to me as. And then when my dad started the podcast, the Spooky Pinball podcast, before he started Spooky Pinball, the company, good like, I don't know, 13 years ago, we, my sister and I referred to as Bug and Squirrel on the podcast. So in the industry, everybody knew us as that. It's stuck ever since. I'm forever Bug, and that's okay.
What do you think of the game Rick and Morty?
Oh, it's okay, you know. No, Rick and Morty has a huge soft spot in my heart because when I initially, wow, that was a terrible start to the gameplay. I'm so sorry.
That's all right.
When I initially,
this gives me a better chance to be able to finish up the game and go, yeah, I beat Bug on this game.
Perfect.
So, you know.
And that's what we want.
Yeah.
So yeah, Rick and Morty, very soft spot in my heart because it was the first game on the production line that I started working on full time. So
Okay.
obviously, like, being around Spooky Pinball my whole life, I've been working on things, but I was, of course, like in school doing that thing. So Rick and Morty was the first time I got to be full-time on production out of high school. So very soft spot in my heart for that. It's I started from the ground up learning all the ins and outs of the production through that. I started just making the cabinets, and then I worked my way through the playtesting side, the assembly, all the parts assembly. I'm supposed to be looking at the camera.
That's okay.
All of that. So I learned an absolute ton on this game about troubleshooting and quality control, play testing, everything like that.
So, since you were younger at that point in time, did you meet like any of the actors involved with this at all?
No, so none of us ever met Justin Roiland in person while he was doing the voice work. He did it all remotely, but he was very involved on the project and very supportive of everything. We did get to go to the Adult Swim headquarters to set up their game, which was really awesome. It was a very cool experience there for sure. So that definitely was something that stood out to me.
That is, so as you've been making more and more pinball machines, have you continued to meet people like involved in the various projects? And
Yeah.
Do you have any fanboy moments like when that occurs? Like who you were like?
My funniest fanboy moment was actually a long time ago. It was when we were doing our second game, Rob Zombie. And I was in like 8th grade at that time. And of course, I'm a huge Rob Zombie fan. Like love Rob Zombie's music, love his movies, everything at that point. And so we have the game set up, and Rob and the whole band are coming upstairs to check it out, you know, get the approvals done, talk about it, things like that. And so like, I know like I'm gonna meet the band, and I'm preparing myself for that. And so like I'm cool as a cucumber when Rob walks in, like, yeah, hi Rob, nice to meet you. Meet the rest of the band, John 5, like, yeah, hi John. But then Rob's wife comes in, and Sherry Moon Zombie is very pretty. And she walks up and goes, hi, I'm Sherry. And I said something along the lines of, yes, I know you, great. So that was my biggest like fanboy moment when working with various like pinball celebrity people.
Well, that's just, I can see it happening. You know, it's like going, okay, you talk
an
to
8th grade boy being like,
Exactly. It's like going, wow. Now, on this game, what I've always found interesting is the theme integration is just so great. The call-outs are just ridiculously awesome.
Yeah.
It's the only game I've ever owned in my life in which we wait till after the match sequence just to hear what they're going to say before you start another game. You've changed our vocabulary in our house. Like if something bad happens, we're the first to sit there and go, what the hell? What the hell in hell? You know, it's like going, so do you have any favorite quotes or whatever from this game?
Oh yeah, so it's kind of a quote from one of the episodes, but it's in the Pickle Rick mode. And can we swear on here?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so it's in the Pickle Rick mode, and you're hitting the pops and slings, and it's when he's originally still a pickle, and he's trying to fight one of the cockroaches down there so he can start stealing its body parts to make himself like mobile. And he's got the cockroach in his mouth, and he's trying to like choke it out with his teeth, and he's going, come on, Murphy! While he's trying to choke it out, and it still makes me laugh my ass off every single time I hear it.
I agree. I know some of our other ones, like when we sit there and we do things like go ahead, you wanted to do something's supposed to happen, and somebody goes, well, I wanted to do this, and now we'll always go, oh, I wanted to go to Boob World, but you can't because you're fucked up. And that's like, and when you become part of the vocabulary beyond when you're playing the game, to me, that's the definition of theme integration.
Yes, exactly. Because like I quote Addams Family all the time because that's how good that game's theme integration and speech was. Like, yes.
Correct.
Yeah. My dad, Charlie, wrote the callouts for the game, and like he was incredibly intimidated by that because the show's writing is obviously phenomenal. It's hilarious, and he was very intimidated to sit down and try and write callouts for Rick and Morty for Justin Roiland, knowing like the level that those guys are at when they write this stuff. So I think it obviously turned out great. He should be very proud of himself for how he did on it because yeah, people love the speech, the callouts, all of that.
And then the other part about this theme integration is just how many different ways that theme is brought about in the game. You were just in multi-ball, but you had, at the same point in time, you were in a different dimension.
And a mode, and lots of stacking.
But we've also got, at the same time, you can hear the crickets because of the dimension you're in.
Yeah.
And it's playing while you're doing. And to me, that and the light show on here is just brilliant.
Jump scare.
And of course, you got to replay, so that's a good sign. So now my problem is if I'm going, I started off this by saying, oh, I'm going to have on film that I beat you. I got a pretty heavy climb to go.
I think you still have to start. You get that multi-ball and an adventure going, you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
I don't disagree, but kind of like meeting Rob Zombie's wife, I'm going to get an opportunity now to go, okay, I really want it. So now it'll be like, hi. You know? Hi. So if you were, when you look at like a Rick and Morty, did it have any influence on what other games have ever come out of Spooky Pinball? Like, does it?
Yeah, definitely. There's things about the layout that we love that we would like to do different renditions of, but I mean, mostly in the theme integration, how you make people feel when they're playing a game. There's a lot to learn from and to be inspired by in this game that we absolutely draw from. And we even have, I love doing like callbacks to old games that we do.
Right.
And we always have a lot of callbacks to this game in particular. In our next game coming out, there's a very specific one I put in there that is a cool callback to Rick and Morty specifically. So
that's brilliant. So now, do we know when the next game is scheduled to be coming out?
I know when it's scheduled, but wouldn't you like to know?
Yeah, I'm not asking you for it. I'm just curious as to, is that, you know, I'll stop asking more questions. Because otherwise, well, I got to
the bonus. We still have the bonus. It could happen.
Well, Bug,
thank you, sir.
Thank you so much for everything you do for pinball. We are always have a spooky game in our house.
I love it.
At least one at any time. And it's a matter of going, what you guys are doing is just, it's just exciting to watch a different set of eyes on themes. And your guys' is everything from your art and your, all of that just always just grabs you in. And
we love what we do.
We love it.
We love what we do. We're very lucky we get to work on these properties and these games that we love. So we just want everybody to enjoy it as much as we do.
Well, it shows. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it.
It is time for game number 1. And when you're here at Tilt Amusements, you have a lot of different choices. And as you can see, we're standing in front of a James Bond Premium. But no, that's not the game. So we can come on down here to James Bond Pro, but that's not the game. Where we're headed to is Bond 60th. It is, I think, the greatest game ever built. I love the idea that this game is modern old school. It's not like Beatles, which happens to be sitting right next to it, which was modern, old school,
by modifying old school. And it makes sense that Keith Elwin, the guy who got us into modern day pinball with his Iron Maiden, would be the guy who would show up twice on our list as the guy who got us back into pinball heavily, but would do it by building an old school game that was never an old school game. There's things on here people have done before, and then there's things on here that they've never put together before. This game is also one of the toughest games you will ever play. Nothing about it is meant to be close to the start button. That has become a big push because there's always a question of going, what if a casual walks up to the game? Will they enjoy it enough? Will they get hooked? In this case, it starts at the lanes. Now, normally in a modern game, we can go ahead and click a flipper button and it changes what the lines are. But in this case here, it doesn't, because Keith Elwin believes you should be good enough to get it to go down the lane you want to. And then it's got score reels. Again, our first game ever. Good show. Our first game ever was an electromechanical heat wave.
Player one, you're up.
It had reels. I had to learn how to work with reels. But these are modern reels. This is game number 1 of all time. So Troy, we're back. This is our final game. I managed to win. Well, you won on the Beatles. I then managed to beat you in Iron Maiden.
And Medieval.
Oh, did I beat you? I didn't even notice. Okay, no, I did notice. So I beat you in Medieval. So we're going to go ahead and see if we leave here like a junior high classroom where it's everybody's a tie, or whether or not when we're done, I could sit there and say, I came to Troy's house.
And you kicked my butt.
We had a great time. We played most of our top 5 games. I just happened to win a bunch of them. All right? So let's do it. I get the honors.
You get the honors. I got to come from behind.
All right. 2-player game. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
All right. So again, according to Ellen, I am supposed to make that shot, which I didn't. But so Troy, as we wrap up our final game,
Yeah.
I remember when I said I like it because it's a tough game. I just scored 153 points. Yay! No, but Troy, what's next? What's next for Troy, or what's next for Tilt
Player two, you're up.
Amusements?
Well, I did get that shot.
Did you? Good for you.
So I've got the games. The bad part is I'm in the middle of nowhere. So we're going to try to do some more things to make tournament players willing to drive down here.
Oh, how exciting.
So I've been building some of the collection up as far as older titles, some solid state, some EMs.
Okay.
And going to see what I can do to make this place a destination for tournaments or such.
Wow. Well, that seems very doable. I mean, it's
I
already...
have the facility.
You do?
You know, it's Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come. That's what we got to hope for.
Oh, I agree with you there. I agree with you there. So the concept would be is that we can turn around and make this a destination for tournament ball play. I mean, you've got the... Oh, come on. I've got it. All right. This is going to be rough, I have a feeling. But all right. Okay. But the idea would be is then that you would host on a annual basis, on a quarterly basis, on a monthly basis. I mean, where is the dream thought process at the moment?
Currently, it's more of a annual basis.
Okay.
Now, I fully intend to keep doing my open houses.
Okay.
Every month and a half, something like that.
And those are fantastic, by the way. I mean, again,
That is
just as
open to the public. I do take donations now, but
Oh, do you? Okay.
But it is free. Nobody has to give anything to come here and play all these games.
Okay.
I want families to enjoy it, and that's the key
super.
thing. Now, the pinball players, they know and appreciate the value in here.
Absolutely.
So they don't mind throwing $20 in to come have good time for the day.
Absolutely.
But a family that just wants a night out, if you figure $10, $15, $20 a person, now
Yeah.
it's a $75 night and they might not be able to afford it.
Correct.
And never get exposed to this.
Right.
So I will never turn anyone away because they can't put in the donation box. That's second nature. I just hope enough donations to cover the power bill.
Absolutely. That's cool. So then annually, we're working towards something big?
I hope so, because me being here in the middle of the state, it has to be a destination.
Right.
And I can't get the big players to come here for a tournament that'll win them $50. It's
Right.
just not worth the travel. So I have to build it big enough so that they want to come here. Being Tilt, I want a tournament big enough where I give away a game at the end of the show or at the tournament.
Oh.
You know, I want it where you're here for a Friday, Saturday, finals on Sunday kind of tournament, and the winner gets a new machine.
Wow.
But you have to build up to it.
Absolutely. No,
You're up?
yes.
I did win.
Yes, you did win. So that means we get to leave here with everybody's a winner.
If only I didn't sell game number 2, I'd have it here and it'd be
We
a
could
tie
have broken
break.
a tie, but no, this is awesome. Thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. For curiosity's sake, your top 5.
My top 5. I actually don't own number 1.
Okay.
My number 1 game is Getaway by Williams.
Okay. Super.
I love cars. The Supercharger to me is one of my favorite toys of anything. Number 2 is my Guns N' Roses, Data East.
Oh, okay.
So this is at my house. Because this isn't enough, I do have games at home. And my 2, 3, and 4 are sentimental reasons.
Okay.
It's not gameplay.
That's all right.
My Guns N' Roses, I lost everything in a divorce in the early 2000s. About 5 years later, I went to the person that bought it, and they sold me my original game back. And I count that as going full circle.
Absolutely.
Number 3, Wheel of Fortune
Wheel of Fortune.
by Stern.
All right.
I was on the show. I can't not like the game.
No. Tell me you won it on Wheel of Fortune. I like it even better.
I won enough money to pay for my trip out there and to buy the game. Number 4 is my Avatar.
Okay. We know the story.
Because, that changed now with me running Tilt and stuff. So that's got sentimental reasons because that was my first deal with Trent. I love the game. It's not something you see in many collections.
Right.
And I go after that stuff. I don't have to have the medieval madness and stuff. I go after things that I prefer first.
Sure. That's cool.
So I have CSI. I'm a fan of the show. I have Sopranos, fan of the show. Game of Thrones, fan of the show. So theme matters to me a lot.
Okay. So just don't say for your number 5 that is Shrek.
No.
Okay.
Number 5 is not Shrek. And since you put me on the spot of top 5, I am leaving number 5 to my favorite of the time that is not going to have a sentimental attachment or anything. And I'm going Venom Premium. And I don't like Marvel. So for me to pick that, but what Brian Eddy did with this Bell Tower mech and stuff, the slogan they're using, change the player, change the game type thing, it just hits it on that one. With 3 different shots at that one area, depending on what character, I just keep going to it.
Well, hey, as always, thank you for everything you do for pinball. It's fantastic. Thank you for participating in our top 5, and we sure do appreciate it.
And when you're ready for a top 10 list, I probably got them here.
I know you do. All right. Well,
Thanks for joining us on our top 5 countdown. Thank you to the Kineticists for putting this idea together.
It was very enjoyable and something that really made us think, what are the best? What are the top 5? Did you agree with us? Did you disagree with us? So put it in the comments. We'd love to hear what your thoughts are. We really put some thoughts into it, and it was neat talking to people like Troy to see how he saw things differently than we did. The other thing that Kineticist wanted us to do was to talk about what it is that we like about pinball. And the one thing I can say is we love the community. People always talk about the pinball community, but in this case here, we love community. TiltTrek is all about traveling to the various locations. And the one thing we've learned about locations is they're key to every community that they're in. Whether there's someone like Wizards World, where they are connecting with the PTO in order to get the schools involved, whether it's out in Colorado, where it's the pinball place is saving people who are struggling with alcoholism. All of these places are just in the community, being part of the community. And that's truly why we love location pinball, and that's why we do what we do. So thanks for joining us. I'm assuming that you're thinking similar things, going, we love knowing about where to go in these great communities. Remember to join us on our next adventure, and the easiest way to find out about that is to like this video, comment on this video. Also, follow us on Facebook, or you can go to www.TiltTrek.com. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next adventure.
Let's go on a road trip with the sun in our face. We have a full tank of gas. We can go any place, north, south, east, west. It doesn't really matter. Let's leave this town. We can drive forever. It doesn't get any better than this. Yeah, let's go on a road trip. It doesn't get any better than this. Yeah, let's go on